Hello everyone, I hope that you are doing well. So without wasting any time, let's move to the newspaper. First we will identify the important news and then we'll move on to the analysis section. So hello everyone, this is May 22, 2022, the Hindu Delhi edition on this Sunday. So there will be a science and technology page which we always eagerly wait to read and understand what are the current developments in science. I hope this week the science page would be very interesting and intriguing. So let's begin by analyzing or by first identifying the most important news followed by a detailed analysis of the same. But before going further, let me remind you that subscribe to this channel and to know more about it and to get various notices right of UPSC and BPSC examinations and other materials. You can go on to Telegram app and just search SimplyIgnited UPSC BPSC, right? And you join that channel and you will get many things there, including many PDFs and many current happenings and other notices of UPSC examination, BPSC examination, and many other things. You go and see there, you will understand, right? And with this, let's move forward. Let me write here subscribe to the channel, okay? Because if you subscribe the channel, you will get all the latest notification of what we are keep posting, right? So let's see, identify the most important news first and it will be followed by a detailed discussion. Okay, center slashes fuel tax at 200 rupees subsidy on LPG cylinder. Okay, petrol cut by 8 a liter and diesel by 6. Okay, so we'll see it, not needed to see, but okay, we'll see on what grounds they have cut. That's what only is needed. Government want to keep lookout circular detail under wraps. Several international travelers intercepted at airport. Okay, we will first read this thing, and if any concerns or if any conceptual clarity is not met, then we'll go to the inside of this article. Delhi court convicts Chautala in DA case. Okay, not required. And Labour Party wins Australia poll. Okay, we'll read this because we have now an FTA with Australia, so Australia becomes important for us. A sad news: flood claimed 25 lives in northeast. Toll rises to 9 in Assam, where 7.12 lakh people were hit. It's a very huge number. Assam is always affected with flood because of the narrow channel of Brahmaputra river. Even slight rainfall more than the average can create a havoc of this flood. Okay, so nothing on this page. So on this page also we don't have anything. Nothing here. Okay, more or less nothing at this page also. Oil firm wants diesel sales in slow lane, not required. Okay, there is nothing here. Now this Ukraine says that only talks can end war, right? From so many times they have been fighting war. I and India itself has said this thing, has reiterated this thing, that go and talk to each other, and sort out the differences. But as usual, they were adamant on fighting, and now when they are maybe wiped out of their resources, when they don't have enough money to fight the war, now Ukraine is saying what, that okay, we should end war by talking. They should have done this first. Okay, now science and tech page. India registers success with BPT. We almost do all the news on this page, right? So we'll identify accordingly at that time. Why is Turkey against Sweden joining NATO? We'll read this. It is very important. Holes in biodiversity. We'll also read this. Okay. How has Kerala changed its stance on NEP? We'll give it a brief read to understand its implications. Right. Fall of labor, last holdout to no permanent interest, not required. Rural food price gains hastened in April. Okay, we'll see this. Fertilizer subsidy, we'll see this. FPI dumps 35,000 crores equity in May so far. Okay. EV toll, not required. Not required. And on the sports page, we generally don't have very important news with respect to our examination, right? And this is the pages in news in frames. It is from Sir Creek. Okay, where is Sir Creek? Sir Creek is in Gujarat. Okay, so Gujarat. has what? It has Sir Creek. It is somewhere. Look, it is like this. It shares border with Pakistan here. Sir Creek is here somewhere. Okay. So okay. So with this we have ended identifying the most important news. Now let's go directly to the news and analyze them. So central slashes fuel tax. Okay, 200 rupees subsidy on LPG. Central excise duty, okay, on petrol cut by 8 rupees a liter, fine, and diesel by 6 rupees. So what has been done? That the excise duty has been cut. Okay, this was in consideration for I think past 2-3 weeks, 2 weeks at least, right? Where PM Modi has urged the states to cut the taxes, and now Central has itself cut the taxes, right? Okay. Okay, the inflation is runaway inflation on Saturday evening by including duty cuts on petroleum product. 200 rupees subsidy on LPG cylinder. Okay, a reduction in central excise duty per liter of petrol by rupees 8 and diesel by rupees 6 will translate into retail price on fuel dropping by 9.5 per liter and 7 per liter. Okay. I don't understand one thing. How, from where this 1.5 rupees extra per liter is coming? Okay. It must be related to state taxes. Okay, there's nothing more here. I'll find it out and tell you tomorrow how it happens, right? Government want to keep lookout circular details under wraps. Obstacle course. Several persons have approached court after they were caught unaware at airport while trying to fly abroad due to lookout circular issued against them. Authorized officer, including an officer not below the rank of deputy secretary, district magistrate, superintendent of police, and heads of public sector bank. So who can generate LOC? So any authorized officer, including officer not below the rank of deputy secretary, district magistrate, superintendent of police, and head of public sector, right? High Court quashed the LOC against Noor Paul. Okay, no, that legal tangle. Okay, so this may be important with respect to the examination, nothing else here, right? So this may be one of the important thing. Just know about it. Labour Party wins Australia poll. Australia Centre left opposition party toppled the Conservative government after almost a decade in power. The Prime Minister elected Anthony Albanese in his Saturday election victory speech. Promised sharper reduction in greenhouse gas emission while he faces an early foreign policy test. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said he conceded defeat despite millions of votes yet to be counted because an Australian leader must attend Tokyo summit on Tuesday with President Joe Biden, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Mr. Albanese referred to his own humble upbringing in Sydney suburb of. Okay, so Labour Party has won Australian polls and the new Prime Minister has been elected, known as Anthony Albanese, right? Now let's see. There was nothing on these pages, right? And we directly reached the science page. So we'll do it in a separate video. Now let's read this FAQ page. Holes in Biodiversity Bill. What are the points of contention raised by the expert on Biodiversity Amendment Bill 2021? Yes, there was a news 3 days ago, that, or yesterday only, that Biodiversity Bill has some loopholes, some lacunas. Let's see. Mr. Jairam Ramesh has criticized the provision of Biological Diversity Bill that is being reviewed by Joint Parliamentary Committee. The law was introduced in Parliament on December 16 last year by Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav and was referred to JPC. Okay, and Mr. Ramesh is also the member of the committee whose chairperson is BJP MP Sanjay Jaiswal. What are the amendments actually? The BD Act was framed to give effect to UNC CBD 1992 that strives for sustainable, fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising out of utilization of biological resources and associated traditional knowledge. To do this, it formulates a 3-tier structure consisting of National Biodiversity Authority (NBA), the national level, and SBBs at state level, and Biological Management, Biodiversity Management Committee (BMCs) at local body level. The primary responsibility of BMC is to document local biodiversity and associated knowledge in form of People's Biodiversity Register. So, what is the primary responsibility of BMCs? To document local biodiversity and associated knowledge in form of People Biodiversity Register. The amendment bill was drafted in response to the complaint by traditional Indian medicine practitioners that the seed sector. So, why this amendment was brought out? Due to complaint given by traditional Indian medicine practitioner, the seed sector, the industry and researchers, that it act imposes a heavy compliance burden and made it hard to conduct collaborative research and investment and simplify patent application process. The text of the bill also says that it proposes to widen the scope of levying access and benefit sharing with local communities, okay, and for further conservation of biological resources. So the text also says that by introducing that amendment, the scope of levying access and benefit sharing with local communities and further conservation of biological diversity resources opens up. The bill seeks to exempt registered Ayush medical practitioners and people accessing codified traditional knowledge, among other, from giving prior intimation to state biodiversity board. Okay, so initially what used to happen, that before getting into, okay, before accessing the codified traditional knowledge, among other things, it was needed to be given a prior intimation to state biodiversity board, which has now been exempted, okay, for accessing biological resources of certain purpose, okay, for certain purpose. Environmentalist organizations such as Life have said that amendments were made to solely benefit the Ayush, okay, ministry, and would have paved way for biopiracy. The modifications will exempt Ayush manufacturing companies from needing approvals from NBA and thus will go against one of the core provisions of the Act. What are the objections? The objections are that Environment Ministry was drawing distinction between a registered Ayush practitioner and a company, okay, drawing distinction and exempting a farmer from the Act. He said that this was an artificial distinction and nothing prevented a registered Ayush practitioner from having informal links with company structure, right? So what will happen? Say Ayush professional is allowed, then he could have back channel links with company, and say company needs the element X, okay, or a species X or A, right? So what will they do? Company cannot go by itself because it is bounded by legal processes. So this registered Ayush practitioner will go get those things and sell it to company. That's it, informally. These pave way for potential abuse of law, right? He said in a letter to Mr. Jaiswal, the chairman, and other committee member. Multiple provisions of the bill, he said, were aimed at diluting the authority of NBA, especially the clause appointing section ex officio officers of the center. The provision of requiring companies to seek the approval of NBA only at time of commercialization and not applying to the patient who was of concern. The bill also decriminalizes violations such as biopiracy, made them civil offences, and this defeated Act deterrent power. Okay, so the bill also decriminalizes violations such as biopiracy and made them civil offences. So, and this defeats the deterrent power. It makes it a toothless tiger, right? Other shortcomings. Okay, as per CSC and Down to Earth magazine on Biodiversity Act was being practically implemented, pointed out serious shortcomings. There are no data available, barring few state on money received from companies and traders across benefit. Okay, sharing from use of traditional knowledge and resources. It was unclear if companies had even paid community despite commitments. In case of Irula cooperatives of Tamil Nadu, traditional knowledge holders and method of collecting snakes were used for pharmaceutical products. Only one company had agreed to pay, but even that promise remained unfulfilled. State board told Down to Earth that the money collected has now been disbursed among the communities because there was no information available about the knowledge holder. The law says if the information was unavailable, the fund out to be spent on conservation in the region from where the knowledge bioresource came. As of now, the fund was lying unutilized according to state board. As per law, Indian pharmaceutical companies are required to pay 3 to 5% of extracted bioresources, or between 0.1 to 0.01 to 0.05% on annual gross ex-factory sales. But companies have resisted paying. In most of the cases, the court have held that the companies have sought to prior approval and made payment to the NBO or state board. Okay, so what does the company say? That we have already given to NBO or state board, so why do we pay again? Often it was not clear who was required to pay. The purpose of amendment did address the issue and aren't helpful in solving the current challenges of implementation. Yes, so this is a very important article regarding this amendment act. What are the amendment and what are the proposed shortcomings? Fine. What is the objective of amendment? To make it more user friendly and let make it more close to sustainable development related such as schemes, right? And what are the problems? These are the problems that the Ayush authority or the exempted Ayush person can have back channel linkages with company, and other things are that who what are the payback mechanism to, or the benefit sharing mechanism is not clearly mentioned and discussed, and all those things are there, right? So a very good and enriching article. Now let's move to the next article. Cut. So the next one is this one. Has Kerala changed its stance on NEP? Why has there been a prolonged resistance in the state towards National Education Policy 2020? Story so far. Since the introduction of NEP, Kerala has viewed that policy document with serious disagreement. Okay. However, 2 years down the line, the state has begun to warm up some of its provision, albeit with considerable hesitance. Despite the shift in policy, chances of quick rollout appear remote due to various factors. The government has hinted that reforms might be introduced only during 2023-24 academic year, right? So what prompted the state initially apathy to NEP? Entrusted by state government to study the impacts of NEP, the Kerala State Higher Education Council has constituted a committee chaired by noted economist Prabhat Patnaik, which concluded that the policy is retrograde and presented an exclusionary vision of education. It also raised concern over possible challenges that the scheme poses for access, equity, social justice, and the reservation system. The government felt NEP 2020 sought to align country's education policy with need of private investment and techno capitalism while ignoring democratic principles that and the federal system. Some provisions, including the move to permit multiple entry and exit in academic programs, were feared to legitimate dropout. Okay. The government also claimed that the proposed National Research Foundation and Board of Governance of Higher Education Institutions would kill the democratic spirits of university and their autonomy. So these were the challenges that Kerala government saw. How had the state altered its position? Okay, with the change of government with the thumping mandate in 2021, the government felt an urgent need to overhaul the higher education sector that appeared to have stagnated in contrast to school education. Okay, that it emerged victorious on poll plans, transitioning Kerala into knowledge-based economy. Okay, and arresting brain drain from state-led government to embark on serious reforms, including relaxing its approach on academic autonomy and privatization. The LDA policy was apparent after recent conference approved the Nav Kerala vision document presented, which mooted private investment in higher education. Okay, right. This was in stark contrast to the days when activist student federation of activists of various federation rubbed up the then KSHEC vice chairman and former diplomat. Okay, accusing him of attempting to commercialize the sector through global education meet. Fine. The seeds of change were sown with the previous. Okay, there's nothing else here. Okay, so what could be the negative impacts of NEP, right? This is written in these things. Okay, so these getting points from here, points to be generated from this point, from this paragraph, right? And nothing else. Okay, and now why is Turkey against Sweden to join NATO, right? Okay, let's see what is the issue. Russian invasion of Ukraine, okay, and Sweden, okay, who has historically stayed out of military alliances, have formally applied to NATO joining. If President Putin ordered the Ukraine attack on February 24 apparently to prevent NATO's further expansion into Russian neighborhood, he is now facing the prospect of two countries joining that. But the accession to NATO may not be smooth. Turkey, a NATO member, has said it would oppose Nordic countries joining the bloc, citing the harbor terrorist group. Why? What is the problem of Turkey? They say that they are harboring terrorist group, a reference of Kurdish insurgent outfit. Put together these developments, continuing the war in Ukraine, fresh NATO application, Turkey opposition, okay, and Turkey's opposition to Sweden bid have shrunken of Europe delicate security equilibrium further. We must understand that if the problem is in Europe, then Europe should solve it. Why is America everywhere solving others' problem? On name of solving it, actually enhances others' problem. This war wouldn't have happened if NATO was not there in Europe, right? This new geopolitical development of Finland and Sweden not wanting to join NATO, and this Turkey opposing it, is again due to American presence there. Why do we need? Why do everyone need America? Or let's say in other time, why do America need to poke its nose everywhere in the world? Why not it concentrates over itself? Okay, let's move further. Both countries, okay, have till date maintained policies of neutrality and military non-agreement alignment. But what will happen now? They are going towards NATO. Okay, and again Russia will do something. We don't know what. Let's see. What explains the long-term neutrality of Sweden and Finland? The last war in Sweden was fought in 1814, the Swedish-Norwegian War. 6 years earlier, Russia has invaded the Gotland island in Baltic Sea. While Sweden drove the Russian out of the island, the latter took Finland away from Sweden while retreating. After Swedish-Norwegian War, Sweden has adopted neutrality as its cornerstone of foreign policy and as it suited its interests better than increasing hostility in neighborhood. It stayed out of two World War and Cold War. Okay. Finland history has been more complicated. Soviet leader Stalin invaded Finland in 1939, demanding territories of Karelian Isthmus, the strip of land. Territories of Karelian Isthmus, the strip of land situated between Gulf of Finland and Lake Ladoga. St. Petersburg sat at the southern end of Isthmus, and Stalin wanted buffer between Finland and former Tsarist capital. The Finns resisted valiantly in initial phase of the war, denying an outright victory to the Red Army, but eventually agreed to sign Moscow Peace Treaty, as part of which they had to cede more territories of Isthmus than what Stalin originally demanded. But a year later, Finns joined hands with German Nazis and attacked the Soviet. Because it was taking place during what? World War time, right? World War II time. Peace returned to the long Soviet-Finnish border only after Nazis were defeated. Having suffered after effects of two wars, Finland did not want to get in another great power context. Like 19th century Sweden, Finland also adopted policy of neutrality as the centerpiece of its foreign policy. So why is this application now? In short, the Ukraine war has created this condition, right? While Russia may have explanations for the war, the invasion saw Russia violating sovereignty of weaker power in its neighborhood. It also raised the question whether Russia would have started the war had Ukraine been a NATO member. Unlike Ukraine, Sweden and Finland do not have any border conflict with Russia. But again, Ukraine didn't have any major conflict with Russia until 2014 regime change in Kiev. So Russian attacks seem to have altered the security calculations of Sweden and Finland. So now you understand the so-called proponents of peace and tranquility and non-alignment, okay, was just because it suited their foreign policy need. The day it won't suit, it will be scrapped off. I always say that international relation is based on three things: national security, okay, national interest, and peace and tranquility in the region. If these three things are met, then the international relation will be there. If any of these three things are not met, it may prompt skirmishes in the beginning, and which may lead to the war. As in case of Ukraine, it has happened that initially there were skirmishes and it led to a war for Crimea, and now for the Donbass region, right? They muted quickly to apply for NATO membership because they hoped the alliance would act as deterrence against potential attack. Sweden and Finland have already developed deep ties with the West. Both are members of EU. Their ties with NATO are closest to two members could get with the alliance. They hold joint military deals with NATO, share intelligence and all those things. They did not formally seek membership until now because they did not want to upset the security question. Okay, status quo in Europe. But also the fear Russian retaliation. But they also fear Russian retaliation. But that status quo has been altered by Russian invasion, and possibility of Russian military retaliation is very less now because Russian troops are fighting a seemingly prolonged war in Ukraine. No, don't underestimate your enemies. Maybe they are fighting a prolonged war in Ukraine, but they can also fight a war in Sweden and Finland. But the thing is that Russia won't love to fight on more than one front, right? So we have to see how this build ups. This opened the door for both Sweden and NATO, and they are ready to embrace each other. And what is Russia's position? We all know: anti-NATO expansion, right? So this is Russia's position. Mr. Putin sought to play down the development, saying Nordic countries joining NATO does not pose any immediate threat to his nation, but warned against NATO moving weapons to this country. While this is not clear what would it do in long term? Its immediate response was to cut electricity exports and gas supplies to Finland. Okay, because all of them are dependent on Russian gas. None of them are dependent on US apart from for mainly for weapon and all those mainly for weapons, right? And see, this again proves that war is a big business for US. And what is the problem of Turkey? Okay, Erdogan has repeatedly said that Turkey would oppose Sweden NATO's bid. Within NATO, decisions are taken unanimously, which means every country in the 30-member bloc holds a veto. Okay, so technically it seems impossible for them to join. Turkey says Sweden have a ties with terrorist group, a reference to Kurdistan Worker Party and the People Protection Unit, the PKK, which seeks greater autonomy for Turkey Kurdish minority, has waged an armed insurgency since May 1980. Okay, and Turkey faces serious allegations of human rights violations in Kurdish region. Okay, Turkey says Sweden and Finland to a certain extent maintain close ties with Kurdish militant, particularly YGP. It also alleges that the countries are hosting supporters of Fethullah Gulen movement, a religious sect by US-based Gulen who accused by Ankara of being mastermind behind the failed 2016 coup against Mr. Erdogan. Okay, these things are there. What next? Turkey first expressed its opposition, mainly though it would be bargaining tactics, but repeated comments from Turkish leadership have raised alarm in NATO capital. If Turkey wants the talk and walks the talks and blocks Sweden bid, that would leave Nordic country in an awkward spot. They have already given up neutrality, but they won't be getting NATO's protection. Even if the application goes through, it would take time for this country to be formally inducted. Okay, in case NATO last expansion, when North Macedonia was admitted into alliance, the process took 20 months. In case of Montenegro, it took 18 months. So time taken for the process to be completed offers a window to Mr. Putin, whose response would depend upon whether his troop could meet the military objective in Ukraine or not. There is lots of uncertainty. Only one thing is certain, that more instability is waiting in Europe. You understand now? Okay. So let's see the next page. Okay, we have done these things. Fertilizer subsidy to rise by okay 1.1 lakh crore. Okay. The government will provide additional fertilizer subsidy of 1.1 lakh. Okay, government total fertilizer subsidy is likely to be 2.15 lakh crores. Okay, so just remember for that fertilizer subsidy is about 2 lakh crore rupees, right? 2.15 lakh crores. If you can remember this figure, or you can just write 2 plus lakh crores, right? Now again the rural food price gains hastened in April. Okay, CPI for agriculture and rural worker increased by 10 points each. Fine, nothing to read here. CPI has increased. Just know who publishes CPI, NSO, and kinds of CPI published, right? Just know these things. You give it a read. I don't think it would be very important. It is just the fact that it has increased. And what is the fertilizer subsidy? About 2.15 lakh crores, right? Okay, so with this I come to end of today's newspaper analysis. I really hope you like it. Okay, before closing the session, your homework as usual, comment down how you will use above discussed articles as examples and case studies. Okay, in your GS answers. You know I read each and every comment. So with this I take your leave. Thank you. So friends, I really hope that you like this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe our channel and share this video with your friend. Follow us on Telegram as well. Also keep studying hard, keep following your dreams and keep tuned to our channel. Comment below for any suggestion. Till then, goodbye, good luck, keep studying hard.